Tien loves his Rumble. Something we have to look towards as we get into pick and ban. The midweek matchup here, LNG versus FPX, and LNG already banning away things like the Varus, the Set, standard meta bans, while FPX not giving some of that engaged potential over to I1D in the Thresh, and the Lee Sin has to be taken away.
Yeah, power picks like Renekton we know has a lot of priority, is still up and available. Same goes for the Rumble that we've talked about. And there we go. The Renekton does get banned out. Now, Akali, a champion we just see Knight get an MVP performance on, is up and available for both sides as well. I don't know how they're going to be feeling if they want to first pick it. Here in the LPL, we haven't really had the same priority on this champion as some of the other regions. There are still answers into it, like the Sylas as well, like the Jace that you can get early game priority. But with Rumble still being up, that we know is a key pick from the side of both Doinby and Tien, we could possibly see that as a first pick. Or the Ezreal, which we've seen a lot of high priority on today as well.
That's right. I mean, Ezreal by some teams has just been looked at. Like LGD, right? They were a team that loved to first pick this Ezreal, but the Udyr instead give it over to Tarzan. Remember, we said that he's played 5 different champions, so Udyr right now for Tarzan, 2-0, 15 KDA on as well. Some good stats to follow through in this game 1. But you already mentioned the Rumble usually is the go-to for someone like Tien, and is the response when Udyr's already taken away.
And we talked about the jungle matchup already with Tarzan securing an early game jungler like Udyr. He's going to be having a very good early game clear that he's going to be looking for, either to come in for some counter jungling with pressure of the lanes he could possibly get, or just to try to set them up with a higher pace here. So the Senna is going to come through from either LWX here. Yep. I expect it to be down at that bottom side of the map. And then Rumble is going to be the champion we will be seeing. So you could go look on to just securing your bot lane here if you'd like to do that. You could also prioritize some of these strong laners that still are up and available. We talked a bit about the likes of Akali. We talked a bit about Jace that we've also seen today. And AD carries are also available. So if you want to get the Ezreal before the second ban phase, now is possibly the time to do it, and then possibly secure a solo lane. And it is going to be that Camille that you've talked about, Hysterics.
I'm curious now because they're comfortable, because the Renekton's gone, a big pick into it that could really shut it down. But Arley's Camille, I already mentioned he's 3-0, 11 KDA on this pick. It has been his best champion historically as well, his most played in his career. And it could just be solo lane essential here. Icon looking at the Zoe instead, might not even bother with the AD carry position. It's a Rise, but the point still stands. Bottom lane left out to dry.
Yeah, I think that's quite curious, but you can clearly see what LNG prioritizes then. They've come in with a game plan. They know what they want to secure from their laners, and you already know the entire game plan here. So counterpick is going to be up for all of FPX. So now you can take a look onto the team composition at FPX. They've already secured their weak side lane. You're not going to be playing for the center Tam Kench. They're just going to be chilling towards the bot side. And now you get counter picks for both mid and the top lane against LNG. I think FPX are looking to put themselves in a very favorable position, because they can also ban out the AD carry champions now. There goes Ezreal. LNG, they need to remove some of their biggest counters now for their solo lanes.
But it's so hard, right? When Nuguri and Doomby have huge champion oceans, especially Doomby, always has the most champions played in the LPL, and no one's really a contest. So for Doomby, hard to ban him out. We already talked about it, going up against the Rise most likely. They're going to start with the top lane in Nuguri's Gnar, but there's other things still available. You already mentioned the Jace coming through here, Guildborg. I'm also curious because there's already a lot of range here for FPX, and if you give them more in already a quite bruiser/squishy comp with Camille, Rise, you can poke them down before LNG can even close that gap.
You really can. And you talked about a big champion ocean as well. I think what they're doing right now on LNG is just like, all right, this is the worst possible matchups we could get, so we're just going to remove these two champions, but there's still going to be a lot of counters available to both sides here. If you want to opt in for a control major with Doinby, even though we don't see it as often, it's still very doable into Rise. He can struggle against the likes of Syndra and Cassiopeia, will also struggle against some of these AD laners. And we talked about the damage profile, you already have an AP jungler, so it doesn't really matter if you go an AD mid, and it's just going to be the Doinby classic with the Kled here.
Oh, that just sets up for the engage. Remember, there really was no engage for FPX, and now Doomby's just added it to the composition. You leave the counter pick for Nuguri as well. He already knows what he's going up against, but for FPX, this looks very much like a comp that can dive, a comp that can hit bot and add some global pressure.
It does very much so, and with the Rakan coming through, I wonder if they're going to take it all the way to a Sire Rakan. Now, Sire, not the strongest champion right now in this meta, so could possibly be seeing the Jhin. We've talked a bit about the facilitation we could get through the bot lane to kind of play for the top side of the map. But there are still a lot of key picks available for them, and depending on what that will be, I think we'll have the stylistic of the team come out from LNG, because if they go for a carry AD carry, as we see here with Jinx, then I think the idea is that you kind of get the free scaling. You're into the center, Tahm Kench. You don't have the biggest threat going on towards you. There's not the biggest backline dive right now onto the side of FPX, so they decide to go with a reliable late game AD carry and Jinx.
Huge amount of wave clear. I want to talk to you more about that composition from LNG, because it's not something we've seen quite a lot here in the LPL, even in 11.11, as we get the Akali in the end as well. So very volatile top lane here. Nuguri versus Ale, you and I were talking about it in that B block there. It's going to deliver in game one, standalone.
Oh, 100%. And right now I'm taking a look onto both team composition. I definitely think FPX has the ease of execution. You can definitely see what they want to do. They just want to dive on towards you with their R buttons, and they have that reliable center, not per se disengage, but security with the healing, with the shielding across the map, and obviously Tahm Kench to save that backline. On towards the side of LNG, it's looking like very much looking like a 1-3-1 composition, where you kind of need to play for these solo laners, the Camille in the side lane, the Ryze in the side lanes, and then just let Jinx be this kind of reliable AD carry to clear waves in the mid game. I definitely think, though, it's going to be a bit harder for LNG to get to that point in time. We have seen already in this meta, it's very much about who can pull the trigger first. And right now, I think, speaking of tools in the arsenal, there are just better ways or easier ways for FPX to start and engage right now.
That's a great point, because you talked about the ease of execution going to FPX, especially when Doomby's on his Kled. I mean, you can create numbers advantage so quick. You have Tahm Kench, Abyssal Void. You have the charge from the Kled I just mentioned. Center ulti, you also said, you can come across map. That's a global, so alongside Rumble, you can lock down a couple of members, get these side laners out of position. And for FPX, pulling the trigger first. That's what Gilborg said here on his first day of LPL, and he's so damn right. LNG versus FPX. These are great compositions to start us off. I ask you all, would you watch the LCK over this? It's not even a question. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. A bit of BM to start us off. LNG versus FPX, both the undefeated, but only one is walking away today with the win.
I always say this to Chronicler as well, who's a caster on the LCK. I don't know how he's not falling asleep when he's just busy color casting LCK, because, there's a reason it turns into a podcast, and it's just because it's the lack of league. So, of course, they're going to be needing more subjects to talk about. But in the LPL, we're all about the excitement, and I'm getting very excited when I'm looking at FPX. I'm a bit scared as an LNG fan, because it will come down to the side lane pressure, especially around the mid game. And we've seen how some teams have struggled to play towards that win condition.
That's right. I mean, we don't see a lot of 1-3-1 compositions in the meta. You said it yourself. It's all about pulling the trigger first in 11.11. We've seen so many comps that play off of hard engage, that play off setup around these neutrals, and really just force in for things like the 5v5. FPX can do that. A lot of engage now built up here just through Doomby, but I wouldn't say, we have hard engage there, right? Tahm Kench has to build up. We need the equalizer in there from Tien, who's now spotted out by a ward. But if Doomby's ulti doesn't connect, then for LNG, resources down, maybe it'll make it easier for them to play through the side lanes. Look at the early game, though, here, Gilborg. We see Tien up to the top side, spotted out on a ward on the Rumble base skin, while Tarzan's bottom side will be clearing all the way to the top.
Yeah, it's definitely going to give them a lot of intel, and I'm actually wondering if Tarzan is going to try and come in and compete afterwards, stealing this Raptors with the pressure he can gain in mid lane, or if he's just going to be standard clearing up towards that top side of the map. Because remember, Udyr, a lot of high skirmishing power in the early game, but from the posturing, it seems like he's just going to go with that full clear. He's going to be looking up towards facilitating Ale, or at least keeping safe up there. So junglers in the beginning, mostly just handshaking that pathing. Tien is going to be grabbing that bot side scuttle, and obviously Tarzan is going to be getting that top side scuttle. So not much to talk about from that regard.
Talked about, it's the jungle matchup that needs to be highlighted here, but the top lane matchup that needs to be watched. Good trading here from Nuguri. It's not often we see Akali versus Camille, only here in the LPL. Nuguri doing so well in the matchup so far. As up in that top side, the wave will be crashing in, so maybe an opportunity for Tarzan to try and gank that lane. While LWX and Crisp have good push in this bottom lane, it is the fasting center here against the Jinx, so just using the range advantage for now with the Piercing Darkness to try and push down Light and Arwandi.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if we saw 2v2 action down towards that bot lane. There's just not a lot there's screaming kill pressure here. It's very much about choking your opponent out with the long-range Qs active from Light, and obviously the center Q from LWX. Now, Doinby in the mid lane has been unmounted, and Tarzan is around.
I mean, the burst damage coming through from Icon, rather the rooting down damage flashing over the wall. Tarzan just runs at him, and job's done.
Very nicely done by Tarzan there, finding a priority lane in Icon. Nuguri as well, decently low, no Shroud for a good while here, so I wonder if he's going to be looking to abuse that, or if he's just going to be looking for stealing that Crocs away. But pings are coming through, and it seems like they're going to commit onto a topside gank.
They are. It's a dive. Tarzan running in, still has his flash. Nuguri flashes away. Tarzan summoner there, but rooted out by Icon. First blood over to the Camille.
You love to see it. They're just so damn proactive with their lanes as well. Mid lane pushed in, Icon immediately TPs up towards it, and a great stacked wave from Ale. Nuguri shoved in an early wave, but it forced a slow push against them, and they're not done.
It's flash for flash. Icon's got on to Tien first. He's caught out in the ruse. Nuguri has to 1v3, but this is so hard, even in the Shroud. Icon kiting around, stunned up Doomby. Running in, though. The Kled has great gap close and wants to take down Ale. The stun comes through. It's flash for flash. Tarzan now burns his own. Doomby's already gone, but Nuguri flies in with a shuriken flip. Launch down, stunned up, Ale over, there we go, turning it over to Doomby. He will demount, be slowed down, and LNG lose nobody.
And this is exactly the early game you're wishing for LNG. Remember, we talked about this kind of team composition. You want your item first. You want to be able to open up the map. And what better way to do that with a lead you can get through the early game. 3 kills, a 1,000 gold lead 5 minutes into the game. Perfect play from LNG, playing around the wave pressure, playing around as a cohesive unit. And Tien overstepping his welcome a bit here towards. Thought he could stop the recall, but kind of baits Nuguri and inevitably Doinby into this fight as well.
That's why he's so good on the Camille, right? The flashes come through in the end, predicting Nuguri's shuriken flip, and Icon just turns it around and starts machine gunning out. I love this, man. Ale's Camille set up to succeed again. What did I say? 3-0, 11 KDA. He's already got 3 kills, and you wanted LNG to play through side lanes. This is now a very good time to, I guess, start at 5 minutes, apparently.
Yeah, this is so great. Tier stacking through from Doinby, started with the items, boots as well, so he can get the pressure, move around the map a bit faster. And then we see this bot lane as well. There's not much action going on about it. It's very much about just being weak side and playing towards the solo lanes. And I think it's going to stay that way. They're going to stay aggressive. You can say Ale still looking for these kind of plays. I think Icon's job in the mid lane now, as soon as he's able to get a blue buff, as soon as he's able to keep these waves shopped out in the mid lane against Doinby's Kled, he's just going to be looking to roam a map all the time with Tarzan. And this is what we talked about. They're so good at just being a cohesive unit, moving around the map, picking members apart and getting themselves a lead. This is what LNG has done so far, and this is why they've stayed undefeated so far in the split.
And they've just created so many windows within this game. You're mentioning Icon. He now has the Realm Warp as well. And I'm expecting this mid laner to use the Realm Warp off of cooldown, use the teleport off of cooldown as well, and beat Doomby to the chase, but charge through the mid lane. They want to dive in. There's the equalizer. Senna joins in as well, and LWX will help out. But look, Tarzan's on the 80 carry. It's TP for Ale. He picks up another kill. And Doomby's demounted on the back line. LNG 3 versus 2 as Tarzan's going to cut them off. Doomby over the wall. The shotgun to get him out, but Iwandi will get a nice little knock up here. Remounting time is so close, but Ale this time needs to get the kill over to Light. And LNG 5-1 start at 7 minutes.
Yeah, gifting a kill over to Light as well to make him relevant towards this scaling we're talking about on the Jinx. And FPX trying to create some plays. I can respect it after losing out on the skirmishes. They're trying to use the bot lane priority to move into the mid lane and get a lead for themselves. But LNG with the TP coming in from Ale, they're just so quick to respond and make sure that it turns out to be once again a favorable fight for them.
Comes back to what we saw in the top lane where FPX tried to commit to the play. TP advantage was held by Ale and used so well in the play. Iwandi not going to be caught out thanks to the battle dance running back to light. And we have to look at the game state here, Guildborg. It's a 1,500 gold lead. Tien, lucky he can start the Herald for now with how the game's going. He'll be even luckier.
I think he's just going to get
it.
stopped here. I don't think he's going to be allowed to do this. You can see bot lane of FPX moving up as well. So because of this, I think LNG would have to forfeit it. But in a vacuum against a 3v3 situation, I think this Herald should always go over to the side of LNG. So the fact FPX adapts to this, the fact that they read the map and are like, right, we don't actually have a favorable situation if we just let it stay like this and move up their bot lane, is very intelligent. And once again, a testimony to how good of a team this team really is, even though they are a small bit of goal behind.
Yep. And after how the early game's gone, right? Very, very good as well that the fact the wave was crashing in. Iwandi, Battle Dance back once again, looking for the route down. LWX doesn't find it. Chris goes for the chase. And now Doombeat moving into Fog of War. Even though FPX are behind, we have to remember what we talked about. Looking towards this clear to start roaming around.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sorry I interrupted, but Light just threw his ultimate into nothing. I think a bit of a misclick.
Okay.
He straight up just jinxed ult. Just saw it flying across the minimap. And with this pressure you got from the mid lane, with Doinby moving into Fog of War, you're kind of forcing Light to back off. And because of this, you just get automatic pressure from LWX, which in turn enables another Drake from the side of FPX. They're actually the first one. And they have Herald in their inventory, so you're just looking for one lane with pressure to play for. You could use it onto the center, but ideally, of course, you would like to do it on one of your solo laners. And if you commit a lot of members to the bot side of the map, Noguri will be attacked towards that top side of the map. Ale, 4 kills already, have already picked off his mythic. 9 minutes into the game, he's scary looking.
That sustain's going to be unbearable as well. Tien is going to make the commitment you talked about towards bottom lane, but look at where Tarzan is. He's been spotted out crossing towards the mid lane. This means Tien needs to get the camp and get out, but he's been knocked up. Light slows him down with the zap. He doesn't have the ulti, as you so rightly pointed out. He threw it all the way across the map, but Tarzan coming through. This means Tien has to back off after taking a huge HP chunk.
Doinby, no dash now. Remember, possibly forced to flash out of this one. Maybe. If Icon can get there in time, but no, he's out.
Equalizer is up and available as well. I think we have to watch out for Tien's combination if Doomby's able to get the bear trap on a rope as well. Pull them back in, lock them into a corridor. Tien moving back to the bottom lane. Herald's going to be dropped here now as well. He did the do-si-do and Tarzan walked back up the river, but Icon's moving down, has the ulti available as well. Just looking to try and push this turret down.
Yeah, but here's the thing. TP is up from Doinby, so if they commit to this one, they need to be careful.
And there's a Realm Warp. The quickness as well stuns him up. LNG now all in the bulk of it. Center ulti comes through. The shielding. Immaculate from LWX. FPX find the first kill of the fight. Icon left to his whims as well as he flashes over the wall. Tien matches as well. LWX trying to use his range. Icon so lucky to get out alongside Iwandi. And now with the dive coming through, Crisp is behind enemy lines. Doomby as well. He's going to go through, dismount in a second. LWX almost dies. It's the flash forward from Light. It's the LPL. And FPX love dive and bottom lane turrets.
And all of a sudden, FPX are just back into the game. They're so damn good at baiting this scenario. Doinby, as I said, had TP all the time, so they didn't care Icon moved down towards the bot lane. They didn't care Tarzan was around. They were waiting for them to commit. And as soon as the fight broke out, Doinby TP'd in, and they were already caught in the trap. FPX finds a lead back on towards this game. And here we can kind of see it. You take a look onto the minimap, you see the Varys ultimate, and as soon as the commitment has come through from Iwandi with that ultimate, he just gobbles up, or Crisp just gobbles up the center, the shielding comes through, no one dies in this scenario, and they're just getting caught in between a rock and a hard place. With LNG, Icon tries to flash over, he's caught with a bear trap on a rope, and now they're just going to be caught on the tower where they're going to be picked up. And Doinby, very clever, him being the first one to tank, just because he can outrun and then reset the tower aggro. But
we don't have time, though. We don't have time because Nuguri's about to die under the turret. Perfect execution doesn't do too much. Ale kill number 5, and even though FPX got the successful dive bottom lane as Equalizer tries to thin out the wave, we have to remember top is still a bleeding wound right now, and Ale is not cauterizing it. He keeps making it wider.
Yeah, he for sure is. And remember, this is Camille. You don't usually talk about Camille in the laning phase. You quite often talk about her in the mid game, which we haven't even hit yet. So LNG as we come to the scaling elements, as we put them into the game or into the conversation, it's only going to get scarier. But right now, as FPX, you're looking to keep up the pressure. You're looking to play around Tien. He's got 3 kills on towards the Rumble, so close to finishing his first Mythic, and I think it's just 1 reset behind, and then he's got that. As soon as that is in his inventory, you want to make plays with the Equalizer. Such a low cooldown on towards that ultimate, so you don't really need to hesitate. If anything, you can just throw anything out there and try to overstep a little bit. Equalizer, very long range. You're not really going to get baited into a wrong fight.
Night Harvester now picked up in the inventory as well. Double Mythic here as Doombee's picked up 2 kills this game and now has Gore Drinker, Kraken Slayer on the center as well. So items are coming across for FPX and gold is still even. But again, at this point, feels like the mid gold, the jungle gold, as Doombee's going in on top of Ale, wants to duel him out. The Camille, though, still strong, has good sustain off of Divine Thunderer, has to dodge away from Bear Trap on a rope as Tien has now made his appearance. The low cooldown Guildborg, you said it, and Tien is about to spray it. Ale going for the lettuce. Here we go, 2v1. Harpoon, but hookshot over the wall, and hard to catch him as well.
Yeah, very nice having that bit of mobility to just get out of there. Takes the blast gun over, and they could be looking for an engage here.
Quickness, flash as well. They have to commit. Crisp is over the wall, but eaten up. He's been so good on this Tahm Kench as Equalizer lays down the center ulti as well. And the charge from Doomby. No one dies, though, after Iwandy wanted to start the play.
No, but they make the health parts bleed enough, and the ultimate down from Iwandy should mean that the second Drake would go over to FPX. They're trying to cross-map it, though. They're going to get the Rift Herald. They're going to get the turret up towards the top side of the map. So there's still something that LNG is getting out of it, despite losing out in that little skirmish.
All right, Dragon number 2. This starts putting a timer on FPX. You already talked about the side lanes from LNG, how they want to play this game out, the huge, immense scaling that is on this comp as well. Let's not forget that we have center, we have great range, we have really good assassination potential if Nuguri can get off the ground. So Dragon does force LNG to group up, right? And we know with the engage potential of Eclair, we know with what FPX want to do, they're trying to bring LNG on their terms, and they will if they keep stacking these Dragons.
Yeah, for sure, and especially if you could be the first on towards the objective, having that equalizer for your enemy to run through is going to be quite hard for LNG to navigate, but 5 more minutes, or at least 4 more minutes, until that becomes relevant. And with those 4 minutes, as LNG, you can kind of slow the pace of the game down a bit if you want to. You don't have to opt into any skirmishes. The Jinx scaling is still going to be relevant. Ryze is still missing his item components for the Seraph's Embrace. And once that starts to come through, you can start picking up these fights. Now, Everfrost was just picked up by him. Next item will be that Seraph's Embrace. So LNG, when they're on 2 items, that's kind of where they want to start looking for these skirmishes, these team fights, and start to be proactive.
And start looking towards how this Camille will be unmatched in the side lane. Look at the resources FPX will have to try and bring. In Pick and Ban, you talked a lot about how FPX's composition can, use some of these tools at their disposal, catch off some of the side lanes. I think it'll be interesting to watch at this 2-item period how good LNG are feeling, especially with Icon Ale moving to sides. Right now, sitting there as Icon's top side, Ale bottom side. I also want to pull out that you and I talked heavily in this A block about the jungle influence, and I think it's been pretty on point, right? Tien has been leading the charge. We called him still that champion of FPX, and Tarzan has been 007. I mean, Bond hasn't gotten the kill, but he's made sure, 006, 008, I'm not fully into the franchise, but some agents are doing work alongside him.
Yeah, for sure. And you're completely right what you're saying about Tien. Every play that FPX has made so far has been around this Rumble. Wherever he was on the map, wherever that equalizer was as a backup, that's where FPX decided to strike. And obviously on the other side of the map, both Tarzan and Icon trying to facilitate the top side of the map. So everything we talked about in the pre-game really coming to fruition here for both teams. But we're not done talking about solo laners just yet, because they're only going to get more relevant. And Tien on towards this Rumble is only going to get more relevant in team fights, specifically when he starts hitting that level 11. A huge power spike for Rumble as well. As you said yourself, already finished the Night Harvester. And with the Conqueror, actually, usually we see Predator or Dark Harvest. He's got some extra sustain in these fights as well.
Yeah, he really does. And I think he's going to be dangerous for targets like Light as well, right? Iwandy setting up for the engage, and Light might be alone on the backside. People like Nuguri as well can follow that up. A lot of protection on FPX, but not as much on the side of LNG. As you see, side laning just continues here. I think it's important to note that Nuguri is always backing out of these trades, waiting for the wave to catch him and get some of these items, because Nuguri hasn't had the greatest game. LNG have been bullying him with the global advantages that they have used. And down behind, 10CS has the Rift Maker now. So we're waiting for a couple of items from Nuguri before he starts making an impact in this first game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But with Riftmaker coming through with the item buffs, it's very easy to get the full true damage out of it. They did nerf it with 1%, but now instead of 5 seconds to get the true damage, it only takes 3 seconds, which is, it's quite great on towards Akali when you can start the fight with a shuriken flip, wait 1 second, dash in, shroud, that's 2 seconds, the extra Q you get, that's 3 seconds, and there you go, 9% to true damage you can get from that kit. So really just a huge pickup coming through, and I think once again on one item they might just spike a bit harder onto the side of FPX than they do on the side of LNG, where I think 2 items is going to be that sweet spot once again where we really start seeing their composition being at their full strength. And now Dragon is spawning in 1 minute rather, and they're going to be using this Rift Hell, who's about to time out, together with Arley's TP down the bot side to get some pressure to go in and collect some of the vision you can set up towards the Drake, push out the bottom as far as possible, make sure FPX stays busy, so you just can put yourself in a favorable situation for the third Drake. It would be soul point for FPX, and you talked a bit about it. Once again, Hysterics, we need to pay attention to TN, to Nokiri, if this team fights out to break out, because they are one of the main damage dealer to come out of FPX.
And Doombees as well with the charge. He's now teleported into the bottom lane, and the push comes out, gets 1 turret. If it wasn't managed by FPX, Ale would have taken more and more. So I like the decision here against the 2-item Camille, but River Control has gone over to LNG. Tarzan clearing out wards. They group up as 5. You told me to watch TN. I'm so ready for this one. As from the flank, Crisp is by himself, might have to group up with the rest of the team, and Dragon has now spawned. Vision controlled, charge coming in onto I1D, the equalizer, good but no follow-up damage. They've gone beyond reach, and with those ultis down, LNG want to re-engage.
Yeah, this is really good for them. 2 key ultimates down in the team fight. This could be a great team fight for LNG. You can see Ale on the flank. Who's he going to look to one-shot? Where is the CC going to come from LNG?
And you're grouped up against Ryze. I1 in the backline. The quickness! Ale rolls in. Everfrost does its job as well. Good center ulti, but FPX now need to make sure LWX survives. TN as well, running into them. LNG, if they group up like this continuously, they're going to get beaten down. Dragon was taken away by Light, but I1D's engage wasn't good enough because FPX, when you're 5v5, will burn you down.
Yeah, FPX, you see all of their champions so mobile, great peel. They try to go on towards him, but Crisp just gobbles him up. And they one-shot I1D as soon as he's in the fight with all the AoE damage. The rest of the fight coming in from LNG was just too scattered. Too many different focuses, and they don't get to one-shot 1 unit. They don't even get to kill 1. So no Jinx reset. And we talked about it, Hysterics. They are just spiking faster on towards the side of FPX that they are on LNG. They need 1 more item to become really relevant.
And they used it so well. That fight was just brilliance to behold. After the charge went wrong, the equalizer didn't do too much. FPX still managed to clean it up. And we'll look at this again, Gilborg. Run me through the fight, because I1D's engage looked like it was a deal closer.
It looked great, especially because you get onto Nokiri, but they just don't have the combined CC. You can see Icon trying to pour all his damage onto Chien, but he's just ready with the Sonya's Hourglass, and that buys the rest of FPX so much time. So by the fact that Nokiri is already out there, back into the fray with the Shuriken Flip, and then the perfect execution to just scatter up the rest of the members of LNG, puts the fight into such an easy perspective for FPX, where they're just able to clean up the low HP bar members.
We talked about LNG. Their strength is through these side lanes here, but FPX brawl up for the fight. Nuguri is 0-3, but looked like an Akali who was doing so much work. As Ale versus Doombe, this is the matchup I wanted to see, but Doombe's been demounted. Ale can re-engage. He flashes in. Hextech ultimatum. Uppercut coming, and Tien can't clear it while LWX goes down. That's 2 kills over to LNG in a quick instant. Realm Warp for the follow-up. Tien definitely dying here as well. It is zap time. 3 go down, and this is what happens when LNG can play through the top laner.
And look at his inventory, Hysterics. What is that? That is 2 items. Gets the solo kill onto Doinby. Gets the solo kill onto Tien. Ale, once again, is unleashed onto this Camille. His signature pick that you have been talking so much about today come into fruition for LNG in a time where they needed the most. Because they just took 2 members Baron buff off. Actually, 3 LWX died as well.
Yeah.
So it looked like a situation where FPX was just going to take the game again. But they find some key picks where they're able to just put it back into their own favor.
Chris couldn't gobble him up as well. I love this from LNG. Now, Doinby trying to fight Ale 1v1, probably not the right move, especially since he has the Ravenous Hydra and now a Sterix Gauge outright. I don't think he'll make that mistake again. 3 item cleared. Definitely not going to be beaten out this Camille. And Ale picking up 2 more kills after the trade as well. And we're back to an even game, Guildborg. We've got a dragon in 2 minutes. Baron is a negative power play here for FPX. And this one ain't over. It's been back and forth, a game of ping pong. FPX with a good team fight, but getting caught out by solo laners. Icon through the mid lane doing his work. And Ale in the side lane beating down Doinby before Tien can get involved.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where we want to see LNG start playing towards the team composition strength. We want to see them open up the map. Keep your bot lane in towards the mid lane. Get the priority. As soon as you don't have vision on any members in the side lane, you back up. And vice versa in the side lane with Ali. It's just about getting all the priorities that you can. Although before this next stream at Drake, I'd like to see them move Ale up towards the top side. He is the one with TP. So if he can be at the other side of the map, when the objective spawns, he can create a lot of more pressure than Icon can right now because he doesn't have any TP. So I'm not 100% agreeing with the lane assignments of LNG right now, but it could also look like they just want to start the 5 straight on 5v5 at the Drake because it's 1 minute until it spawns. Soul point for FPX, and I think they'd like to go for that play as well because we talked about FPX. Their team strengths rely on their team fighting, especially the engage from Doinby, TN's equalizer, and the follow-up from Nokari.
And when they're getting easy to play out as well, double Zhonya's Hourglass on the AP carries both jungle and top 2. You've got to play time here for FPX, and Doinby now with the Sterix Gauge becomes even harder to kill when it's in the team fighting environment. We also have a Warmog's Tarm Kench with a Frozen Gauntlet, so I like this from Crisp. He's been the supportive yet beefed up Tarm. Also, Warmogs onto Tarzan as well. Remember that we need 1100 bonus health now. Warmogs has changed a little bit, so itemization changing a little bit up here in the LPL, but we got 11 seconds. FPX are here first, and it looks like for LNG... It looks like
they're forfeiting it.
Yeah, they are.
It just looks like you can take a look onto the vision right now. So many pink wards in the river for FPX, and on towards the top side of the map, they're just going to be cross-mapping. They're just going to try and play the map. They're just going to be saying, yeah, we know this is soul point for you, but it's not soul yet. So we don't really care about it.
I guess for me, for LNG, the Jinx auto attack that picked up the last dragon means so much more. You've given yourself time to,
really
okay,
does.
you have to fight the soul in 5 minutes time. But until then, we're going to be moving to a 4-item Camille with GA, a 3-item Rise with Banshees, or the Seraph's Embrace. Big items that means we're not going to be able to match the solo laners if we're FPX. So I feel like that last dragon fight has such big implications on LNG for this game 1.
It really did, but I was too scared to bring up that conversation because LNG essentially got aced. They lost the Baron, and I was like, yeah, you picked up the Drake, but I don't think that really matters. But now it does. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a trade you'd like to take again, but they made the most out of it. They found some key picks, specifically from LA to get back into it, and now it's just back to playing these side lanes. Baron will be the next objective spawning in 30 seconds, but for FPX, that can be very hard for them to set up, just because that if they spend too many members on one side of the map, it's just going to be a walk in the park for Ale to just, kind of just tear down towers in a side lane. He is Camille. He is sitting on 3 items. We know what this champion does.
Yeah, and already adding pressure to Nuguri in that bottom lane. I think an also important note is that it is the best soul if you lose. Cloud Dragon's not going to end the game. Even though for FPX's comp, when the engage tools on that ulti, when we have Equalizer as well, they chase down the composition of LNG and get in their face. It's definitely not a bad Dragon Soul, but might give you a little bit more time to continue playing through these sides in this 1-3-1. So we wait for the next dragon to come up, 3 minutes time. Baron is back on the menu with limited vision control on both teams, but you can see pings coming out. Both these teams wanting to get themselves in a better position, look to threaten, bait in, and see if this Baron can be a possibility.
Yeah, and we can also take a stock of the inventory right now. You can see Stopwatch invested in both by Doinby, while I think he's going for the Guardian Angel with that BF sword in his inventory. It's going to buy some extra space, or at least time for the rest of his key members to stick in the damage while he's been focused after engaging. And Ale as well does have that Stopwatch, but you can also see how much damage LWX is dealing out right now. I think that was essentially 4 autos, and he's down to half HP.
Right, Ale has good sustain here, but remember, you know, those longer fights, I mean, Ale won't be able to tackle that. But again, for LNG, not looking directly towards the fights for now. I think we're just going to be waiting around till this next Dragon, till Soul comes through. I want to also point out, Guildborg, that there is a very sneaky ward if a Baron play comes up. Look at that top control ward in the inner tier brush.
Oh, you're right.
That's good setup. That's great setup for a TP flank if LNG want to abuse it.
No one's ever going to go up and check that little pixel brush either. So it's definitely just going to stay there for the rest of the game.
Yep.
But with the setup coming through now, it seems like while FPX is favoring bot side with the Drake coming up in a few minutes, LNG is looking towards this Baron, and Ale is spotted out by a ward up there. They're trying to bait a little play where they're trying to bait someone to go into Icon, but FPX has already got the intel that they are going for this play, and they're just not going to fall for the trap.
As we come through minute 30, I also want to point out that there is a real chance that LNG could be like, well, we could just give them the soul, it's only a Cloud Soul, and say, nuts to that, let's rush the Baron, because they have a Jinx, they have a Rise. Even the Camille's going to add a lot of perspective, or at least a lot of damage, excuse me. So there's always that play in the book, even though it's not super ideal. Just something, if FPX get positional advantage, if they try and force them into the 5v5, I'd always be scared of the engage potential of Doomby moving the team all the way from one Dragon to the Baron with the charge. So we've got a lot to think about, Guildborg. With a minute left on the Dragon, with FPX up in this topside river, it's mounting to a big fight ahead where playmaking, you said it all game long, is going to be key.
It definitely is, and 5 seconds on towards this one. Remember, FPX can kind of just pull the trigger whenever they want to. If they are first on towards the objective, they can just Doinby ultimate onto whoever is coming into face check. They got the equalizer to follow up as well, so FPX engage, very dangerous, and as LNG, you kind of want to keep that in mind. You don't want to overcommit too hard. We saw what happened with Ivondi. He just got blown up before the fight even started, so play it patiently, wait for the right moment. You have a lot of tools to play an extended team fight in with the Rise and with the Jinx, and then you have Ale to come in and finish the job as soon as he's needed.
Ale can be flexible. He's got the GA now available for Item Camille. Banshee's Veil for Icon as well is going to help a lot with the CC that comes through. GA also for Doomby there while we have Blighting Jewel, but there's the charge. LNG will moving back to the mid lane. Nuguri on the backside, Doomby absorbing the pressure. Remember, Guardian Angel was talked about as he demounts Light, moving forward, forcing out the Sterix Gauge. Already done about 2k damage, while Realm Warp, where's it taking him? Straight to the Dragon. That'll be bursted out, and with no charge, LNG, massive 5-head.
Yeah, great tempo play. Equalizer comes out as well, and now you can see the pings up towards the top side of the map. Pings are coming through, and I think they're going to be looking for either an answer towards the top tier turret or to try and start the Baron.
The slow Baron. Guildborg, it's such a slow Baron with the team. They've even used the equalizer from TN, and it's got that 25-second cooldown. Icon is going to teleport in here, clear out the double cannon minion wave just like that. Now they're looking for Ale through. Hook shot away. Good gap close, and FPX can't do it. They know they can't do it. And so LNG get the Dragon for free.
Yeah, I realize now I got a bit too excited knowing what the team composition are from the side of FPX, but with the resets coming through now, Rocket is being invested to face check it. They spot him out, and I think they'll need to back out of this one.
They will. Ale is in on the flank. I don't know why, but LNG got rid of that huge control ward TP potential. I guess it needed to go somewhere else, unfortunately, so that's no longer an option as charge. Going to the bottom line. It's not Light there, though. Everfrost dodged away from, but Light's now been able to reposition. He's got the AoE, the Zap as well. Doomby will dismount once again as Tarzan's running into him. Equalizer through the river, zones out LNG. The quickness can't hit the mark, and this is like the sexual tension in a first date. It just never ends.
It really does not, and you know, I don't want it to end between these two teams. It's been a long time since I've seen a game go to 30 minutes, specifically in this meta as well. But honestly, I still think there's been a lot of action to entertain us to get to this point. It's just been the fact that LNG really has tried to stall out this game as long as possible due to the nature of their composition. We've talked about this so many times. And FPX, you can see they are desperate for engages, but at the same time, I also feel like they can feel the game is slipping out of their hands. They need to find that one perfect engage where they get onto a key target, either the Jinx or the Ryze getting eliminated, but it's hard for them to find access to the backline.
What makes this game so great, it's inches, not miles. It's let me talk in Australian. It's centimeters, not kilometers, right? It feels like, oh, sorry, not Australian, the rest of the world that's not America. It feels like it's one mistake that is going to blow this game wide open. It feels like gold is not worth talking about because items for items is what we're seeing on the Rift. It's equaling gold here at 33 minutes. As LNG now grouping up, they just want to get pressure here. The inner turret's still there. Feels like an issue for LNG to move towards this Baron.
Here we go.
Okay, equalizer down. Charge comes through with Doomby in the front line onto Tarzan. Doomby hasn't taken too much damage and has the sustain of LWX. And once again, FPX using these ults off cooldowns because they really don't have a cooldown.
Yeah, and I just love the patience from LNG. They're like, all right, Doomby ultimate coming out. We're just not going to go for it. We're going to wait out the engage, and then we're going to play on map again. Icon up towards this top side. Need to be a bit careful. A lot of members coming out, and yeah, he's just forced to Realm Mode out of it.
Realm Warp as well. Not the longest cooldown in the world. Icon's level 17, so expect that to be up for this next fight if it comes through. And LNG just backing away for now. Vision control for FPX around the Baron, but we see the same problem for FPX. They can't really rush this objective. You have the Jinx rocket to face check. You have the Realm Warp that sure is not up and available at the moment, but will be if FPX try to turn the coin on the play. And I want to see LNG play through these sides once again, Guildborg. I know that Arley is uncontestable at this point. I want to see the level 18 Camille keep pushing in, add different layers of pressure that FPX have to pick and choose.
Yeah, but I can also understand why they're so hesitant to doing it. Obviously, there is that advantage where you pressure the side lanes of the map and you can open up the map so the team of FPX will feel pressure to send members onto the side lanes. But there's also the disadvantage that right now in FPX, there's a lot of go potential and there's not a lot of peel in the 3 remaining members who'd be staying around mid clearing those waves. So I understand they're a bit scared of leaving Light alone when there's a Kled ultimate that can come down on you. The equalizer as well. Remember, he did go for that Kraken Slayer, so he does not have the Gale Force movement dash to get out of it either. So that's probably why they're so hesitant of starting anything. But it's just a matter of time, really, Hysterics, before we'll start seeing anyone pull the trigger, even LNG. For the longest time now, it's felt like they just want to keep stalling the game. But with the items that's come through now, 4 items onto the Ryze, and items onto the Jinx, 3 items now. I just keep saying items, but it's so much about the items, Hysterics.
It really is.
It's all about finding that access now to the front line. You can shred it with the Ryze and the Jinx.
And you can as well consider that Light has a little bit of survivability, right? More Malmortia is going to be built up. I like the Hex Drinker here in this game. When you're worried about TN, when you're worried about getting cornered and layered down with the Equalizer. LNG grouping up yet again. Side lane's not really in check here. They've equaled out, so FPX comfortable to set this up as, hey, we'll take the 5v5. They get into River first. It is Cloud Soul if they can take this. Arley tries to get the engage on Doomby, but Dragon's been started.
Has been started. Engage can be available for Doomby behind, but I think they're actually engaging onto Doomby right now.
Equalizer's there. They're away. They say, forget the Cloud Soul. FPX just get it. Doomby now cornered out, and Arley wants to take him down. Doomby gets the Steric Shield, buys time, about to remount. Nuguri out as well, and Cloud Soul for nothing. LNG like, okay, into the Realm Warp, everybody. Let's party around the Baron and pull FPX here.
How did no one die there? Even if they did kill him, he still got the Guardian Angel. They have started up the... Nope, they're just going to leave it. They're so hesitant about starting anything. They don't want to be the team losing a lead for themselves, but they do bait out Doomby's teleport, so that does give you a small advantage.
But the fact that you get Cloud Soul now, and again, I want to state it is not the biggest soul for LNG. It doesn't mean lights out, but you have a Kled, you have a Tarm, an Akali, a Rumble. Like, these are champions that are going to work so well off these ultis being procced. The extra ability haste you get with the 2 Cloud Souls, let alone the the movement speed you're going to get when you layer down your engage tools, your ultimates that set up the game for a successful win for FPX. So it is still a big lead. And now we have to start questioning, well, do we then wait for the Elder? Do we start kiting around the Baron? Because LNG have been a little bit hesitant here. And it could be that Elder fight that they're waiting for. But even then, FPX might just force it again.
Yeah, I feel like if it comes down to all this hesitation, it might be what ends up costing LNG the game. Because right now, FPX gets to be the first one of the objective every time. They get to be the one who puts their composition in a favorable position where they're actually just going to be pulling the trigger and going straight onto you. And then you can't back off, because if you do, you're just going to lose the objective. And, you know, I just took a look onto the center souls as well. 135 souls onto this center. Like, we're at a point where she can just shoot you from miles away without taking any damage.
People are going to be saying that's not really that much souls, but it doesn't matter. At 38 minutes, when you have that range, it's going to be absolutely massive. Remember, center as well, we've gone down from 25 extra range to 20 per 20 souls, so I believe I'm correct with that one. So something influential, but LNG, here we go again onto the Baron. They're going to try and do it quick.
Oh, that's going down so fast. They need to come in with the engage.
And the Equalizer Lancer as well. FPX turn it on a dime. Doombee's charging up, absorbs the damage from Icon, but FPX are now all here. LNG, the blinking health bars there as Light gets exhausted down. The Jinx there. Ale into the backline. He's hit himself up. The full item Camille locks him down, and LNG try to pick them apart. Icon still alive. Gets the splash damage, but Nuguri doing so much work in the backline. And FPX said, you want a team fight? You got it. Ale's out there while 3 remain dead.
And look at that range! I wonder. He was just shot 800 range away from that center there. Nothing he can do. And Hysterics, we talked about, if FPX composition just does rely better in team fight scenarios, where onto LNG, you wanted to be able to open up the map. You wanted to be able to play around the priority, but we never got to that point. And now, I think, after 40 minutes, close to 40 minutes, FPX is going to try and close out this game.
That tension, someone made the first move on this date, didn't they? And it was FPX. Ale with GA going to be popped here. The 7-1 Camille going to be equalized, going to be locked down, and FPX in a game number 1 that delivered will take us to a 1-0 lead.
Oh, and what a game to start out this series as well, Hysterics. 40 minutes long, and it feels like if we take a step back and try to look at the early game, it just feels like ages ago. And it was a game that was very early driven by the small priority skirmishes we saw from LNG. They got the pressure on towards the mid lane. They moved it up to shut down Nuguri. But then again, it was Tien on the Rumble with the pressure from the bot side of the map who found leverage back into the game, who started stacking up the objectives and put his team back right on track where they needed to be, where they could get the priorities before the objectives and utilize the composition they had gotten. FPX versus LNG Game 1. What a banger to start out with.
Oh man, I'm so glad to have you here, Guildborg. This is the day you debut on the LPL and you get this. Like, I'm sure you couldn't be happier because I'm brimming right now, ear to ear. A game that I think will be remembered for quite a while, considering that for LNG, the strong side laners were there. Side lane's not really intact, and we didn't get to see Ale put pressure on, look to force FPX towards these inhibitor turrets, and I think that's the one shame I have out of this game. But even when they were trying to match the fights, people like Icon Light, was still a massive threat. But man, this Kled pick paid dividends, even though in the early game, like, there were failed engages, there were those 2 plays for FPX. We got to mid to late, and Doombee's Kled did exactly what it did. It role-played the team for FPX so damn well.
It really did. And, we talked in the draft phase as well, Hysterics. Remember what we talked about, how LNG was very much about trying to open up the map. It was a composition that was harder to execute on. But on the side of FPX, something that was very easy to do was execute on their composition. I think we got to see that in this game multiple times as well. Every time they were first on an objective, you saw Doinby rushing in, LNG forced to disengage as they didn't feel like taking the fight because they wanted to scale just a bit longer with their carries. It just got to the point where it didn't matter. They have lost too much in the game. It was too easy for FPX to just do whatever they wanted to do with their composition.
Right, always pulling the triggers, man. That low ultimate cooldowns coming through as well. Good to watch Doomby in action here, starting off game 1 on the Kled. TN once again on this Rumble pick has been successful, and even LWX and Crisp, right? Especially Crisp on this Tahm Kench had an exceptional game where LWX could always play aggressive. Crisp was always there by his side, and the Tahm Kench facilitated this squad where LNG were like, okay, we'll pick apart this piece, but it's so hard when Tahm Kench gets towards the late game and has such low cooldowns on Devour where it's hard to get those picks without him contesting.
It really is. And I think it also came down to FPX really read the first picks nicely. As you remember, they just picked three. They picked all of the top side of the map. Early LNG, it was the Udyr, it was the Ryze, and it was the Camille. So it's really easy from the side of FPX to just read, all right, we're just going to play a weak side bot lane here. We're just going to keep the Senna scaling going. We're going to get the Tahm Kench to make sure in lane she's not in danger. And in team fights, no one is in danger. And they just did that. Yeah, the top side of map fell apart in the early game, but it was easy for them to bounce back with the objective setup. It was easy for them to bounce back with Doinby's proactive engages with Declared, with the equalizers again. I mean, we talked about this so many times. TN, really an unsung hero by putting FPX back on track.
Yeah, it really was. And coming up for the rest of this series, I mean, FPX, like, they delivered, they came back. It was LNG's early game, but FPX showed us they were always in contention despite Nuguri being 0-3. Didn't give away more kills than that, and ended up coming back into the game in a strong way as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's only game number 1. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, let's find out if LNG can follow through on the early game and bring us a banging game 3 right after this.